Recording has started. Tonight, we want to take a look at what promises, what JavaScript promise is, and how to make use of Fetch API. We're going to be making API calls, and we see how it looks like in JavaScript. So let's get started. You see, a promise in JavaScript is the way it is in real life. You know, in real life, you can make promise to someone, and that promise can either be fulfilled or rejected. It can be fulfilled or rejected. So when the person fulfills his promise, we say the promise is fulfilled. But when the person fails to fulfill the promise, we say such promise is rejected. Same way in JS. And promises are asynchronous. What does that mean? Let's say if I have this console log first. Oops. That's not normal. So we have these three things. If you run it on the browser, you know this will be logged to the console before this, right? Have you now?
Yes,
Hello? Then this will be logged to the console before this, right?
Yes.
So that is the way that this what we have here means synchronous code. This is synchronous. What we have here is called synchronous.
Okay. So which means that synchronous from what you just said. Okay, synchronous from
Yes.
what you just said means execution one after the other.
Yes, in the order that the codes are written.
Okay.
That is synchronous. But promises are asynchronous. Hey, look at the A at the front. Opposite of synchronous.
Okay.
Let's discuss how. Let's discuss this. So you know how set timeout works, right?
Yes.
Okay. So when we run this, the way set timeout works is that it takes two arguments. The first argument is a callback, like is a function. The second one, okay, what is set timeout?
Is there a question, sir?
Yes. Allo project to come down. Allo project.
Okay. Sir?
Allo project to come down. Abi.
Yes. I think I've forgotten that projection. Okay, we are talking about set timeout. It's just the time stipulated for something to execute.
Okay, so we are saying that the codes inside this place should be delayed for 100 milliseconds. Whatever value we put here is in milliseconds. So
Yeah.
the first argument is a callback, while the second argument is time in seconds. Time in milliseconds. So we are saying that the code inside this place should be delayed for 100 milliseconds. So when we run this code, this should be run first. This line 17 will be run second, and then followed by line 15. Do you understand?
Okay.
Do you get it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So that is why it's asynchronous.
Yes. So something this can be set to be asynchronous. Let's go to the console. First, third, second.
Okay.
So codes like this are known as asynchronous codes. So they are not codes that execute immediately. They take time. And when you are now talking about promises are asynchronous codes. they don't happen immediately. Do you understand?
Yes.
Now, not just that alone. Imagine this. Imagine this. Imagine that this line 17 needs the result of line 15. I come again. Imagine that line 17 needs the results of line 15. That means if anything delays line 15, then it's going to affect line 17. Are you following?
Mm.
Again, I come again. Imagine that line, normally the way we run this code, this is asynchronous codes because this part with delay is going to, line 17 will run before line 15 now because this part will take time, Abby.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
imagine a scenario whereby this line 17 now needs this to finish its execution before it comes into play. Meaning that we need to now find a way of delaying this also. So that this will be done, then this can follow. Are you getting it?
Yes.
So what you are going to do now is that we now say line 17, wait. You are going to receive a message from line 15. And when this message is done, because you need the result for your own execution can delay, or we need to delay your own execution till this one is done.
Yes.
So in that case, this is where promise comes in. So this line 15, we now make a promise to line 17 and tell line 17 that, see, I'm promising you something. Wait for me. I'm coming. Don't go. Don't run. Are you getting it? Line 15. We make a promise. This set time out. It will make a promise to this line 17 and tell it that, wait, don't run. Because I know you need my results. So I'm promising you that I will send a result to you. This is where promise comes in. Any question?
Cleared.
Okay. Now, if this set time out is promising line 17, keep something in mind. This promise may be fulfilled or rejected. Even though this set time out is promising line 17, what we want to look at is that don't think because it is promising it that it will definitely give it a result. It may not. It may actually fail. Not all promises are fulfilled. So, line 17 must now be prepared to get two responses, or to get one of two responses, either a success response or a failure response. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
If it's a success response, that means that promise is fulfilled. If it's a failure response, it means that promise is rejected. So a promise can either be fulfilled or rejected. The promise means that when we use promise, we are just saying that the code here should be delayed until a response is set. This response can either be a success response or a failure response. That is what we're about to look at now. We want to delay. The summary of everything is that we want to delay a set of codes till a response is produced. Because we know that response will take time. So, when that response is produced, then the code can now run. But then, the response can either be a success response or a failure response. When it is a success, we say it is fulfilled. When it is a failure response, we say it is rejected. Can we move on?
Okay.
Now, we are not going to go deep into how to create a promise. Most times at the front end, what you are just doing is, what you'll be doing most times at the front end is to receive a promise, is to expect you are expecting a result, not for you to generate the result. Most times you don't generate the result. You don't generate it. Let me put it this way. I said this line, we want to delay it, Abby, till this part is done. So most time at the front end, you are not responsible for what happens here. Again, most at the front end, you are not responsible for what happens here. All you are responsible for is to delay the code here till the response is gotten, from this part. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So
Yeah.
let's focus mainly on that part. While you are building application, in most scenarios, you don't own the data. You get the data from a place, or you imagine you can get from a database or from a server, but most times you get it from somewhere else. Unlike, before now we've been using local storage, right? But in
Yeah.
Yes.
in real life situations, you'll be getting the response from a server, from a backend or something. So JavaScript has given us what we call fetch API. This API makes it possible for us to make a request for data at the back end, at the server, or from anywhere. It's inbuilt in JavaScript, it's already part of JavaScript. So where you are getting the data from, or where you are at that particular point, we call it endpoints. You are making a request to an endpoint. Do you understand? We want to look at it. Imagine we want to
Yes.
get our data from this place. I'll go to this website. Uh, JSON placeholder. So let's go to users. So I want to fetch the first user. So I want to fetch this user. I need this user. So where it is, where I'm getting it from, is called endpoint. So you are not the owner of this data. All you are doing is you are consuming it. You are making a request. You are saying, "Get me this data," but it's not for you, right? Are we following?
Yeah.
Okay. So
I don't
because
see.
yes, ma'am.
I don't get. Is Are we searching this one online or what?
Yeah, since we don't have back end, we have
Okay.
this page. There's this website, JSON placeholder. Is a website for dummy data. Like data are available there. You can just use it to test your application. So we are going to be using it to test, just to test our application. But in real life scenario, you will have a backend that will be sending this data to you. But what we have is just dummy data. Some people came up with all of this data for us to test, for us to work on this and test on it. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay. So you want to make a request to get this particular data on this website. Note, since where you are making the request to is not on your server, most times, in fact, I don't want to say all times, it will take time. It's not something that will come immediately. When you are making a request to a server that is not yours, our application is not running on the same server with the endpoints, then it is not going to be synchronous. It is not going to happen immediately. It is going to be asynchronous. Do you understand? It will take time. It is
Yes.
not going to occur immediately. So let's make a request and get this data. Can you see this data here? Oh, let me close this. Can you see this data here, this object? So we want to fetch it and make use of it in our own code. So you make use of the fetch API. You say fetch. This fetch is already inbuilt in JavaScript. It's an inbuilt API. The first argument it takes is a function. The first argument it takes is the URL of where you are fetching from. So I want to fetch this, I want to fetch from this URL. So I will copy this URL and paste it in my code. Are we following?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've pasted it here. Now, this is where promise comes in, and you need to understand how promise
Yes, we are
works.
following.
Okay. You see this, let's save it as a variable. We are trying to fetch this from a particular place, right? I want to say console log A. We want to say console log A. But note that this will take time. Remember I said when you are fetching something from a particular endpoint that is not running on your server, it will take time. Have you now?
Yes, as explained.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, that now means that because it will take time and JavaScript is naturally synchronous, it is by default, JavaScript is synchronous. What that means is line 13 will take time. Why that is running, JavaScript will not wait for it. Koniduro deo, it's not going to. It will just run straight to line 14. Do you understand? This will take time and it knows. While that is still fetching, JavaScript will now run straight to line 14 and quickly run the codes there. So let's see the result this is going to give us. Go to this. Can you see this? What do you see here?
Promise pending.
Okay. So, we said console log A and B.
Yes.
So what that means is that promise pending shows that the value of A is a promise, but this promise is yet to be resolved.
Okay.
Meaning that the data is still fetching as at the time you log A to the console. Do you understand? Because
Yes.
this will take time, and JavaScript will not wait. JavaScript is naturally synchronous. It's not going to wait. Can you remember that the other time when we did console log first, console log second, console log third, and we placed the second inside set timeout? That third was logged to the console before the second. JavaScript did not wait for second. Do you understand?
Yes.
That is what is happening here. This is taking time, but JavaScript doesn't have time, doesn't care that it will log A to the console. So this will not delay JavaScript. But that's not what we want. We want to ensure that this is fetched before this. We want to ensure that the line 13 is completed before this line 14. Do you understand? Now this is where promise now comes in. We will now say that line 14, we want it to be delayed till, we want this console log A to be delayed till this data is fetched. Any questions to that part?
So I go back to your console.
Okay.
It has not executed console log A now.
This is console log A. This is line 14. This is A. Yes. It is the one saying promise pending.
But let me my question is that it did not show probably A on the browser.
This is A.
I mean on the console.
This is the A. No, this is A is a variable now. Whatever you fetch, you are setting it as A or B.
Okay, yes. Yes, it's true.
So it is still fetching. You logged A to the console. You are saying console log A, but as at that time, this was still fetching data when the value of A was set. Did you get it? So we now want to ensure that this one completes its path before this. We want to ensure that line 14 waits for this one. Wait for that fetch.
13, yeah.
Yes. That is where promise comes in. So let's move on. We are now going to say dots. You can go to the next line and say dots then. When you put dots then like this on a promise, this dot then is a function. You use a function, you trigger it like this. On this, it's from fetch API I've been now. We are calling it on this fetch API. I come again. When you're making this call, you now put dots then. Whatever is inside this dot then, we wait for this to be done. I come again. Whatever code you put inside this dot then, we wait for this fetching to be completed. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's move on. So, inside this, you are expecting a response, Abby.
Yes.
You can say response, or you can write anyone, but let's write it in for response. This dot then takes a function, and it's a parameterized function. Let me put it this way so that you get it. You know this is a function, Abi, ES6 function. But you can the break is another one so that it becomes clear. Should be really clear to Abai.
Yes, callback function.
This is a callback. So this dot then takes a callback. So, and this callback is a parameterized function. Whatever you fetch here becomes the value of whatever you put inside this place.
Okay.
So whatever this fetches will be inside this place. Do you understand?
Yes, okay. Yes.
So you can now say console log response. Response. I can also say console log good. Let me now add this here. Console log hello. Now, if you run this code, this console log hello will run before others. Are you getting it? Because it is not within this then. Shall I get there now?
Yeah.
Everything inside this then will wait till this fetching is completed. Oh yeah. So, because this is not inside that then, this will first run, then response will be locked. That is whatever you fetch from this place. Whatever you fetch from this place will be locked to the console, then good will be locked to the console. Oh yeah, whatever. Is Mr. Jacob still in class?
Yes, I am.
Are you
am.
following,
I'm
sir?
observing. I'm watching, actually.
Okay. Check out tẹ̀síwájú.
Yes.
Kò tí wà mí kò tí ṣe nǹkan tá a fẹ́ kó ṣe náà.
Àìgbélẹ̀ díẹ̀. So, since this is just a single parameter, you know, if it's just one, you can remove the parentheses, Abi.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you can remove that. And let's go to the console and see it. Can you see the response? This is the response. But we are not yet done. You got to have fetching now, Abi. Shall follow?
Yes.
Yeah. Let that go.
So we can now say that this response start fetch you after calling this. We now want to say that this returns another promise.
I know, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question.
Okay.
The other time you said it will first execute the code on line 21
Yes.
before executing the code on line 16 and 17.
Yes.
But from the browser, we saw that the code on line 16 was executed before that line 21.
No. Line 21 is hello.
Oh, sorry. Okay. I've seen it.
Okay. So this
Thank
one, you're welcome. This dot then, it returns another promise. It's funny, but that's the truth. It returns another promise that you can now call on dot then on also to see the response. This returns another promise. Then you can now call dot then on these results. Then you will now see your data. Any question? About there is a
Yes.
library that will not tell us like all of this anyway. Library what I'm tí ò ní dá wa láàmú tó gbogbo eléyìí tí
Sir?
library what I'm tí ò ní dá wa láàmú tó gbogbo eléyìí tí eléyìí tá à ń ṣe. You know now what we are doing is we are calling it twice. Like we are saying when you call on fetch, it's going to return a promise, Abi.
Yes.
Promise to return here. That is why we are making use of dot then, right?
Yeah.
Shall follow?
Yes.
Yes,
Now
I'm
we are
following.
now saying that when you call on this dot then, the response you are going to get is still another promise for like this. When you call on dot then, you can now say this response dot JSON. This response dot JSON will return another promise. You want your data to be in form of JSON because look at it. Let's do something. Let's go to the console and see what this one gives us. that you understand what we are doing. This one, kò tí fún wa ní nǹkan tí à ń fẹ́. What we are looking for is this. We are looking for this data. Do you understand? And we want this data to be in form of JSON formats. You know, this is in JSON formats, Abi. What is JSON?
Yes. JavaScript object notation.
Good. JavaScript object notation. Thank you, sir. So you want this to be in form of JSON. So you can now say this response. So you now say response dot JSON. This response dot JSON will return another promise. Shall I get there?
I'm following.
Okay, good. This response dot JSON will return another promise. And now you can now call on dot then again on that response. That is whatever this returns, this response dot JSON, whatever it returns, àwa lè pe dot then náà lè lórí. So let's do this together. This is going to return response. This returns a response. We are now saying that response so dot JSON. We are calling on dot JSON on that response. And we know that this will return another promise. What's in that, Ravi? Sister Wojo sọ̀rọ̀ mọ́.
I don't understand, sir.
Okay, let's come again. Show ye the BB.
Okay, like this point,
Okay.
dot then.
But
You said the
okay.
main function is it not to delay? Actually, I need to say to delay the execution of the next code.
Yes, whatever is inside this dot then will be delayed until this data is fetched.
It's fetched. Okay, I thought it was the next. Sorry,
Okay.
and I'm sorry. Yeah,
Okay.
what we're saying is that this dot then the function is to delay the execution of the code inside that curly bracket,
Yes.
not the one outside like
Yes.
console log hello.
No, not the one outside. It's just the one inside.
Okay.
Not just to delay also. We know that this will return a response, Abi.
Yes.
Whatever
yes.
is returned will be the value of this variable. Whatever you put here. If I call this R, then that becomes the value of variable R. Whatever this returns will be the value of this R.
Okay.
Do you understand it?
Okay. Yes.
Okay, let's move on. So this is going to fetch a value. Then that value becomes the value of response. And we
Response,
logged
yes.
the response to the console and we saw how it looks like. But we said we are not yet done. Àti débi tá à ń lọ.
Yeah.
Ibi tá a kọ ìyá ló pọ̀.
Okay.
So we can now say this response return response dot JSON. This will convert the data to be in JSON format. So that's going to be useful for us in our codes. Do you get it?
Okay.
But this will also return a promise. This response.json will also return a promise, which will actually take time.
Yeah.
So we can now say dot then also.
Okay.
So whatever this returns will be here like this. Will be the value of this R. Show on yellow.
Okay. Bit value of response here.
Will be the value of this R. Let's call this resp. Or resp.
Since we are using response.
Since we've already used response. Not that you can't use it. You can still use response.
We will change the name, right?
No, you can call it response also if you want to. I'm only calling it
Okay.
so that you know that they are two different things.
Oh, okay. Yes, it's true.
So you can now say console log res.
Okay.
So let's check this out and see how it looks
Wow.
like. So shall we put data here in Yavi?
Yes.
The same data that you have there, you now have it here. So let's say, and I want to display this name on my page. Let's create a div and place the name inside that div. I'll give it an ID. I'll call it maybe ID display. So I'll come to this place and say display dot inner dot
HTML is
equal to less dot name.
dot name.
Sure you get. Shall I reload your screen?
Yeah, too.
So let's go over it again. Promise is used to delay some set of codes till some things are done. So when you fetch API, allows you to make API call. So when you make your call, you can chain it with .then.
Okay.
When you chain it with .then like this, it means that the code inside this .then will be delayed until this is done fetching it. Next is this .then receives a callback. So whatever you fetch from this place becomes the value of this response, and you can do whatever you want with that response. But we are saying that this will not give us what we want. We are saying this should return. We are returning response.json. Abi? Abi now?
Yes.
Yes.
You can also shorten this by doing it this way. By removing, you can return directly with the arrow function. So you can return it like this. So we are saying when we call on this, return response.json. This response.json also takes time and it returns a promise. So whatever that promise, you also want to get the results. That's why we are chaining it with another dot then. Try and get a value.
Yes.
So this also takes a callback. So you can now call this data, and you can now console log data. So back to what we did the other time. This will not be here now. If you want to delay it, it will now be inside this place. So that means the codes there will be delayed until this data is fetched. But any data outside it, any codes outside it will not be delayed. But only those codes within it will be delayed till it is done. Shiny Vero.
I have a question, sir.
Okay.
Those data,
Okay.
what if we want to arrange it in such a way that the ID be like it will be in a tabular form? The ID, the name, the brand. So we want to put it in a tabular form. How can we achieve that?
That's not left to you. The origin of this class is to teach you how to fetch data. About you displaying in the tabular form, you can call on create elements here, or you call on. We've done things like this in the past. You can create a variable. I said on out. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can now.
Okay, I said to display it in a tabular form. That's left to you. You've done create elements, Abi. Abi now.
Yes.
You've done create elements, Abi now.
Yes.
Create elements.
And now, create elements in JavaScript. When you can create an element, or if you can also come here and say, create your table. We've done something like this in the past, whereby you did something like this now, Abi. So you can do whatever you want inside this place. So because you know that the code here will wait till this data is fetched. Shall you understand? You can also do something. You can create a variable data, or variable my data. You can even start as undefined. So you now see when you are done fetching, you can say my data equals to data. Then you can now call on function. on a function here. So this function might be the one to create the table for you. Do you understand?
Okay.
So you can create your table here. Whatever you want to do with the data, you can now do it inside this function. Since this function is being called after the data is fetched, you are calling it inside this place, inside this callback. Have you know?
Yes.
So you've already set the value of data, so you can make use of data inside this my func. Sister Moji, you are talking as though you are confused.
I'll get it.
I come again. This is it. I'm about to create
Okay.
table. Really, I'm not going to do that because before now we've done whatever you want to do. Maybe you want to display it in an li tag. Whatever way you want to display your data is left
Yeah.
to you to decide on.
Okay.
And we've looked at two things. Number one, you can create your data by you calling a table tag in your JavaScript.
Yeah.
Have been now. Then you can concatenate ahead. You can run your loop or whatever you want to if it's an array of objects. But this is just an object. It's not even an array of, it's an object. So you can do whatever you want inside this place. Another thing you can do is this. This will set the value of this data. Have been now my data.
Yeah.
You are now calling on a
Yeah.
function called myfunc. So meaning it's going to run the codes inside this myfunc. Abi?
Mm-hmm.
This myfunc can now create the table using this variable my data. Ṣó ti yé? Nǹkan tá a gbà wá láti backend òun ni my data, right?
Yes.
So this my data wá lè lò mí bí báyìí. The reason we are calling on myfunc inside this second callback is because we want to be sure that this my data is set before we try to create the table. So this function can now create the table making use of this my data. Do you understand?
Okay. Okay.
So any question? So any question? Ibo ni òye? Please speak up. Ibo ni kò yé?
Mojísọ́lá Ìmọ̀ni kò ní.
I've asked my question now.
Lọ́dì.
Ṣé a lè tẹ̀síwájú?
Yes.
Okay. Let's move on then. Now, you can also use aside using .then, you can catch it. .catch. What does that mean? Remember I said that not all promises will be fulfilled. Promise can also be rejected. The ones we've looked at, we are assuming that all the promises will be fulfilled. But I tell you, a promise can be rejected. Only ma fulfilled. So let's look at such scenario together. Let me split this. So if this is fulfilled, but what if maybe this URL is not correct? Àbí kọ̀kọ̀ ṣẹlẹ̀ tó jẹ́ pé kò lè fulfill promise yẹn. A lot of things can happen. One example of such ni mo ṣe sọ pé what if this URL is incorrect? And if the URL is incorrect, then it means that promise will be rejected. Àwọn ilé tó kàn dúró ní títí wọn ni. So a promise can fail, and that is where we have the .catch. You can catch it. This also takes a callback. So this expects an error. If there's any error, it will become the value of this error. If there's any error, òun ló máa jẹ́ value error. For now, there's no errors, so that catch will not be executed. Shall I get there?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
For now, there's no error. But let's do it in such a way that there will be error. Maybe this URL is not correct. Let me. No. Let's go to the browser. Now only. You got to unlock the console. Error you unlock it. Can you see it line 24? Whatever you put here inside your catch will be executed if for any reason that promise cannot be fulfilled. It's good to plan for both, because it's possible for if you don't put catch, Okamato just error. No, look at it. Look at the difference. You can do anything with the error. Let me ensure that the URL is incorrect now. So you can do something like this now inside this dot catch. You can now say dot catch error. You can display a message inside this div and say display dot inner text equals to something went on. Try and follow.
Yes, sir.
So tí o bá lè run then I was in a catch our run nǹkan tó wà ńbẹ̀. So my display something went wrong. See inú bẹ̀ yẹn. So if there's anything you want to do, shall we put the display because something actually went wrong. Show to you what then. If there's anything you want to do, if you are unable to resolve it, so if the promise is rejected, if there's anything you want to do, if the promise is rejected, then you can put that inside the catch. Should we look at a better way to write promise? This one that we are doing is a long process. Let's go to a shorter way to write promise. So we are going to make use of what we call async await. Thank God for, I think it was released with ES6. Thank God for ES6. We have our async await. So instead of using then and all of this, then and all of this, we have our async await. Let's see how to make use of it. I love it so much. It's interesting. It's lovely. I love it so much. So let's see how that works.
It's good to write your code.
So let's copy the same URL. Paste. Now, instead of you saying .then, we are now going to do something. Async await allows you to write codes. It allows you to write asynchronous code as though they are synchronous. That's how interesting it is. It allows you to write asynchronous code as though they are synchronous. This is it. You want to use a particular two words, or I call them pair. Async await. So we want to say that this line should wait. Let's say console log. So let's say variable a equals to this. I will now say I want to say console log a, console log hello. So what we're going to do is we now put await on line 15. When we put await here, we are saying that everything after this line must wait for that line to be fetched. Do you understand? And we're going to part saw this synchronous. You know, synchronous codes, they open line by line, Abby.
Yeah.
So when we put await on this line 15, every code after it will wait for it. So it has actually turned it to synchronous again. Because synchronous executes in the order that your codes are written. So if you put await on this line, then we are saying that every line that follows it must wait till it is done. So line 16 we wait for it, line 17 we also wait for it. Any code after it we wait for it. Do you understand that part?
Yeah.
Sister Moji?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, but then you can't just put await. Look at it. When you put await like this, error. That's because await must be inside an async function. It's a word pair. You can't just use await on its own. Look at it. If I go, I even expect it to throw back an error on the browser. await is only valid in async functions and the top level bodies of modules. What does that mean? You can't just use an await like this. The reason why this is very important, or the reason why you should not be able to use awaits except you are inside inside an async function is this. Imagine I have a lot of codes here, meaning that all the codes after line 15 needs to now wait for line 15 to be done, which is bad. Do you get it?
Yes.
If you have 10,000 lines of code now, all of them will wait for this line to complete its fetching before they continue their execution, and that is actually bad. Your user will not be able to do anything because of this await. So you can't just use await except you are inside an async function. Just here.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So let's create a function together. I'll just call it const my phone. So I'll cut all of this and put it inside this function. Now we now have await inside this place. You can also use you can use the ES5 function if you want to. It's still the same process. I'll change it back to ES6. I'm just saying. Abina. So in this place, you can also add your async. To add async, come in. Is it here now? Oh, sorry. What am I doing on here? Oh, it's here at the beginning. Okay, sorry. So I've added async at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
By adding async, it is now possible for us to use await inside our function. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
So you can't use await except the function is async. And what that means is once JavaScript sees async inside that function, every other code after that await will wait for that line to be completed. I will come here and say console log taye. This taye, because it is before this await, is not going to wait for it though. But you see every other thing will wait. Short year.
Yeah.
Taye is before the
Yes,
await. Taye is before the await. So taye will not wait. But you see every other thing. This console log hello, this console log, this will wait. So let's go to the browser. Oh, next, let's call on the function. You know, when you don't call on the function, nothing happens, have you? Have you now?
Mm-hmm.
So let's go to the browser and see our results now. So this here is the result. But Sherry Kwele in our call can you remember the other time? We saw something like this. This was the response. We first got the
Yes.
other time. We can now say console log a.json. So let's save it again. You know, I told you that this is another promise. Whatever this returns, when I call on, let's say this is response now. This will return a response. And this response, when I say response.json, it will also return a promise. So it might take time. I've been now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you said so.
So this response.json we also return a promise. So let's await it also. So we can have console log res. Show you what.
Yeah, ó yé wa. Kí tí wọ́n fi ń bímọ promise, wọ́n bímọ kọ́ máa wait to promise.
So then la ṣe máa lo Axios. Axios is much better than writing this twice is actually frustrating, and it actually makes it a bit difficult for students to grab it at first. Really, it is. So we're going to make use of Exos now, and you're going to see how better that is. So result it's a level for one. So ṣé a ní any ìbéèrè?
No.
As man of that, just
Okay. So let me summarize this. When you have a sink like this, await, then the line here, we cause every other lines inside our function to wait until this fetching is done. And whatever is fetched now will become the value of this response. So when you now say response.json, this also returns a promise. And you are saving it inside there, so you can now do whatever you want with it. I think this looks better than using the dots then. I just think so. Let's make use of Axios. So let's go online and say Axios CDN. Axios is a JavaScript library. So let me see if the CDN is available. Okay, I think let's copy this. So we have this URL. Let's try to connect to this URL. So let's go back to our codes and say script source paste. So fetch this. We are making use of a library called Axios. So instead of saying all of this now, we want to fetch this same thing. But let's see how we're going to go about it now. We are now going to say Axios. The reason we can call on Axios is because this URL is available in our code. And that's why you need to write this script tag before your own script tag. Try and get there.
Mm-hmm.
So let me format it very well. So you can ask Axios.get. You are making a get request. Get is when you are trying to get data. You make a get request. You have other requests, posts, put, patch. So get data from this URL. We know that this will take time, right? So we can await it.
Yes.
So I can say, let's maybe response. Like about fetch it. This exists now. You don't need to call on .response or anything again, like .json or anything again. You can see your data directly. So go to the browser now.
That's all.
Yes, that's all. Right. So only response to one, I can now say .data or no data. In content one, shall we know these are objects, abi. Only property to get data. Shall remember.
yes.
So if you want to, you can now say just response.data so as to display the data. So any question? So if you also want to make use of dots, then it's also possible if you want to. This will no longer be async await. This will be dots then. Ẹ má terminate, ẹ má fi semicolon, ẹ wá put dots then ẹ fẹ́ lò. Dots then. Response. You can now bring this there. Ó ti parí. Ṣé bó ṣe easy? I ní láti ṣe ní mímọ́ bíbí. And if you want to catch it, to handle the error, you can catch it. Error handling. You can console log error, whatever you want to do, you can do that here. Ṣé bó ṣe ṣe kó máa yé lọ́rùn díẹ̀ àbí?
Yeah, sure.
So,
Straightforward.
So exhaust.get.then. Ẹ lè fi then yẹn náà sí parí bí o. In fact, that's actually what is happening. To tell la ṣe terminate. If you terminate this, it will throw back an error. Kò ní gbà ká lo .then anymore. It means you've terminated it. Do you understand? So don't terminate it. Keep that end open. On la ṣe .then anymore. And also you can put your dot catch here if you want to. So, but just to make it a bit neater, it's on another line. So if you want to use dot, then if you want to use async. Now, but there's something I didn't mention. What if the async await throws an error? I'm doing error. Because if this dot then should throw an error, we have our catch to handle that, Abby.
Try catch, yeah.
We have our catch to handle that. But this async await, error handling is not inbuilt into it. So what you can do is you can do your try catch. So whatever code you want to run will be inside this place. Will be inside the try. And if it goes wrong, the code inside the catch will be executed. Do you understand? Try catch. If it's success, you are trying to try catch is like you are attempting to do something. So try this, attempt to do this. But what if it goes wrong? If it goes wrong, the code inside the catch will be executed. Show you.
Yes, sir.
So that is how to handle error in async await function. Inside an async function, you can make use of your try catch. Unlike your dot then that allows you to call on dot catch. This await doesn't have inbuilt. So what you can do is you can use your try catch. Then you can also go to the textbook, the JavaScript textbook, and read on error handling. I think it's maybe chapter 22 or so. I know it's close to the end of the book. So you can check it out. Any question? Show that only.
Àti ilé conclude kó dàrú. Ó ṣe ń lọ lójú ìgbà tí wọ́n bá tún wọ̀. Ìyànṣẹ́ wa máa ń tún wọn understand dáadáa tó máa jókòó.
That should come.
Right now, I don't have a question.
Okay. Sister Moji, show that only.
A ti ń wò lójú sá, ó máa yé wa náà.
Okay. Let's summarize it one more time before we go. So whenever you want to make a request, it doesn't happen immediately. There are two things you can do. You can use a fetch API or use an external library or a third-party library, also known as external library. So the inbuilt one is to use the fetch API. So you put this takes the first argument here is the URL, and you can now use dots then. This dot then takes a callback. Whatever you fetch from this URL will be sent as the value of whatever you put here. So you can do whatever you want to do. But this doesn't give us our data in the manner we want. So we can now say, yeah, you return the response.json. And we said this response.json will return a promise, like it's going to return a promise. So because we know it's going to return a promise, we chain another dot then with it. And we can call this data, and we can now say console log data. So this is one thing you can do. And if there's any error, you can say dot catch, and then you catch it. This also, of course, your catch also takes a callback. So if there's any error, it's going to be inside this error. You can do whatever you want to do there. So that's one thing. You make your API call, dot then, it returns a promise. This promise, you're saying response.json, this will return another promise, and that's why you are chaining this dot then, and you are logging the data to the console. But in case there's any error, it comes to the dot catch and it runs the codes there. So instead of making use of fetch API, we said you can use Axios. So we got in the Axios CDN, so you can now say Axios that gets the URL then. Now you don't need to now call this twice again. Just the first one, and you don't even need to do this. So whatever response you put here now, you can work directly with it. So you have a response, and if you want your data, the data you are fetching is inside a property called data. So you can now say console log response.data. So that's exists for you. And if there's any error, it comes to the catch part. Then we said you can also make use of your side catch if you want to. If you are using async await if you want to. If you are using async await comes inside and await inside the synchronous function. You can't just use it here like this. The way await works is that all the codes after it will be paused. It's not going to run. So you can say func then you can now bring it there like this. So this line, now we ensure that every other line wait for this line to be done. When this line is done, you can store it as a variable. And this is variable A. So you can now say console log A data. And the reason you are using a.data is because this is Axios. If you are using the fetch API, you still need to call on .json again. If you are using the fetch API, the inbit fetch API. If you are using the inbit fetch API, after fetching it, you still need to say so you call it twice, then you can now call it. Sure, so show you what there. Hello? Hello?
Hello, sir. Yeah.
Show you
Hello,
what.
sir.
That's one.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.